For years, people believed my husband and I had the perfect marriage. Friends admired us at neighborhood gatherings. Coworkers envied how naturally we seemed to support each other. They saw a successful entrepreneur and a confident investment executive building a beautiful future together. What they never noticed was how quietly I kept shrinking so his spotlight could grow brighter. My name is Claire Donovan, and for nearly 7 years, I convinced myself that loyalty could fix anything. My husband, Ryan Donovan, founded a fast-growing software company that everyone praised as the next big success. I worked in private investments and rarely discussed my career. That suited Ryan perfectly. The less attention I attracted, the more impressive he appeared. Every morning followed the same routine. Ryan drank coffee from an old navy blue mug I had given him during our first Christmas together. I straightened his tie before meetings, wished him luck, and watched him leave, believing we were building the same dream. Looking back, I realize I was simply helping build his. Long before Ryan entered my life, I had purchased a beautiful 2-story home after years of exhausting work and countless sacrifices. I remembered walking through its empty rooms for the first time, breathing in the scent of fresh paint while sunlight poured across polished hardwood floors. That house represented every overtime shift, every holiday I skipped, and every risk I had taken to become financially independent. Before our wedding, Ryan signed a prenuptial agreement confirming the property belonged solely to me. His attorney carefully explained every clause. Ryan barely glanced at the paperwork. "One day, I'll buy us an even bigger place," he joked with a smile. That day never came. Instead, he paid a few utility bills, mowed the lawn occasionally, and gradually began referring to it as his house. His mother, Margaret, quickly followed his example. Whenever she visited for family dinners, she'd rearrange my kitchen without asking and proudly tell guests, "Ryan has worked so hard to provide this beautiful home." Each time I considered correcting her, I stayed quiet. It felt easier. That silence became the most expensive mistake of my life. Margaret adored Ryan and treated him like the family could do no wrong. His younger sister, Nicole, defended every decision he made because he quietly financed many of her expensive hobbies. Nicole's husband, David, worked as a forensic accountant and often questioned Ryan's spending, but the family mocked him for being overly cautious. Then there was Ryan's executive assistant, Vanessa. She called late at night. She texted every weekend. She laughed a little too loudly at Ryan's jokes. Whenever I asked about it, Ryan dismissed my concerns with a smile. "She's just dedicated." I wanted to believe him. A week before my business trip, I noticed an expensive jewelry receipt on the kitchen counter. Ryan casually claimed it was a gift for an important client. I accepted the explanation. 3 days later, my final meeting was canceled unexpectedly, and I came home early. That single decision changed the course of my entire life. Rain hammered against my windshield as my driver turned onto our street. Visibility was poor, and dark shapes scattered across the driveway looked like garbage bags waiting for collection. As we pulled closer, my stomach tightened. One of those bags held my red winter coat. "Stop the car," I whispered. Before the driver fully braked, I stepped into the pouring rain. Water soaked through my shoes while I hurried toward the nearest bag. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were my sweaters, family photographs, books, and the blue ceramic bowl my late mother had given me years ago. Another bag had split open completely. Documents, notebooks, and framed pictures lay scattered across the wet pavement, their ink bleeding into puddles. I picked up our wedding photograph. Ryan's face had become a blurry gray stain. Mine remained perfectly clear. I should have recognized that as a warning. The front door stood unlocked. The moment I stepped inside, loud crashing echoed through the hallway. Dust floated through the air while workers demolished the wall leading into my home office. "What is happening?" I shouted. Every worker froze. Standing in the middle of the destruction was Margaret, confidently directing the contractors. "Take those shelves out too," she ordered. "I want this room opened up." She finally turned toward me. "Oh," she said without the slightest embarrassment. "You're home early." I stared at the broken walls before forcing out the words. "Why are my belongings outside?" Before she could answer, Ryan walked in from the kitchen. Vanessa followed closely behind him. She was wearing my silk robe. Her hand rested gently on a noticeably pregnant stomach. For several seconds, nobody spoke. "Claire," Ryan finally began. "How far along is she?" I interrupted quietly. Vanessa lowered her eyes. 6 months. The words struck harder than any scream ever could. For 6 months I had attended fertility appointments, taken vitamins, and listened as Ryan insisted we should postpone having children because work was too demanding. Every excuse had been a lie. Margaret stepped forward with folded arms. "Our family is finally getting the grandchild it deserves." I looked at Ryan, expecting him to stop her. Instead, he glanced impatiently at his watch. "Let's not make this more difficult than necessary." Something inside me became perfectly still, not shattered, not angry, just silent. Ryan reached into his jacket pocket and handed me a folded check. $5,000, he said. "It should help you find a decent apartment while you get back on your feet." He honestly believed he was doing me a favor. He spoke as though the house belonged to him, as though my marriage, my home, and my future had all become his property. I didn't argue. I simply picked up my work bag, walked back into the rain, and closed the front door behind me. Inside the waiting car, my phone vibrated. One message from David. "We need to talk. I've uncovered financial records you have to see." For the first time that day, I realized losing my marriage might not be the biggest betrayal waiting for me. I spent that night in a furnished apartment overlooking the city. The silence felt unbearable. Rain tapped against the windows, while the damp wedding photograph rested on the kitchen counter, leaving a small pool of water beneath its frame. For the first time since leaving the house, I cried, not because I had lost Ryan, because I finally admitted how long I had been losing myself. After collecting my thoughts, I called my longtime attorney, Michael Grant, and explained everything. "My husband moved his pregnant assistant into my house," I said calmly. "His mother threw all my belongings onto the driveway. I need every ownership document reviewed tonight." Michael didn't waste time asking emotional questions. "I'll call you back." 45 minutes later, my phone rang. "The house is completely yours," he said. "The prenuptial agreement is airtight. Ryan has absolutely no ownership claim." I closed my eyes. "He keeps telling everyone it's his. Paying a few household bills doesn't transfer ownership," Michael replied. "Legally, The property has always belonged to you. His words brought relief, but not satisfaction. I want to sell it. He paused. Immediately, yes, you don't want to move back. I stared through the apartment window. There isn't enough fresh paint in the world to erase what happened inside those walls. The following morning, I met David at a quiet coffee shop downtown. He looked exhausted. I'm sorry, he said as he placed a slim folder on the table. Inside were expense reports, bank transfers, reimbursement forms, and internal accounting records. At first glance, everything appeared ordinary. Then the numbers started telling a different story. Luxury jewelry, vacation resorts, payments toward Margaret's condominium. Money transferred into Nicole's struggling wellness business. Nearly $1 million had quietly disappeared through fake business expenses. David pointed toward one highlighted transaction. This one hasn't cleared yet. I looked closer. $50,000. What's it for? He lowered his voice. He labeled it as emergency operating costs. But it was scheduled to come directly from the employee payroll reserve. I slowly looked up payroll. Hundreds of employees depended on those funds to pay mortgages, rent, groceries, and medical bills. Ryan wasn't just cheating on me anymore. He was stealing from the people who trusted him. That realization erased every remaining doubt. I immediately contacted the company's independent audit committee. The pending transfer was frozen before the money left the account. Payroll remained protected, employee benefits stayed intact, and financial records were quietly secured before Ryan suspected anything. To avoid any conflict of interest, I officially disclosed my marriage to the board and removed myself from the investigation. The evidence would speak for itself. 2 days later, Michael called again. The house officially sold this morning, he said. Before I could answer, another notification appeared on my phone. Board meeting scheduled, 9:00 a.m. The timing wasn't a coincidence. My divorce hearing was set for that same morning. By the time Ryan walked into court expecting an easy victory, everything he believed he owned was already slipping through his fingers. The courthouse buzzed with quiet conversations and the shuffle of polished shoes across marble floors. I arrived wearing a charcoal gray suit and carrying a slim leather folder. For the first time in months, I felt completely calm. Ryan stood near the entrance with Margaret, Nicole, and Vanessa. She rested one hand on her pregnant belly while wearing the same diamond necklace Ryan had claimed was purchased for a client. He smirked the moment he saw me. You cleaned up nicely for today. I simply smiled. My phone vibrated. House sale completed. Funds received. A second notification appeared seconds later. Barred vote. Unanimous. CEO removed effective immediately. Perfect timing. Inside the courtroom, everything moved quickly. The judge reviewed our settlement, confirmed the validity of our prenuptial agreement, and clearly recognized the house as my separate property. I requested no financial support and made no attempt to discuss Ryan's business misconduct during the divorce proceedings. When the judge finalized our marriage with a single strike of the gavel, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt relief. As I walked toward the exit, Margaret suddenly blocked the doorway. She pointed a finger directly at my chest. "Don't ever set foot in my son's house again," she snapped. "You're no longer welcome." Ryan folded his arms confidently. while Vanessa smiled beside him. For a brief moment, memories of that rainy afternoon flashed through my mind. Then they disappeared. I looked Margaret straight in the eyes. "Actually," I said calmly, "I sold the house this morning." The smile vanished from Ryan's face. "What?" I opened my folder and handed him the official transfer documents. "The house belonged to me before we married. The prenuptial agreement never changed that. Paying a few utility bills didn't make you the owner." His hands began shaking as he scanned the paperwork. "You sold it?" "Yes. The buyers will contact you about moving your belongings." Margaret stared at me in complete disbelief. Before either of them could speak again, I added one final sentence. "And there's something else. I officially fired you as CEO." Almost on cue, a corporate attorney walked through the courthouse doors carrying a sealed envelope. "Mr. Donovan," he said, "you've been formally removed by unanimous vote of the board of directors." Ryan ripped it open, his face drained of color. "This can't be happening." The independent audit confirmed nearly $1 million in unauthorized personal spending, I replied. Luxury jewelry, family expenses, fake reimbursements, and an attempt to steal $50,000 from employee payroll. His phone immediately began vibrating with notification after notification. Corporate accounts suspended. Building access revoked. Executive privileges terminated. For the first time since I'd met him, Ryan looked genuinely afraid. He stared at me. "How could you do this?" I held his gaze without anger. "I didn't destroy your life, Ryan." "You destroyed it the moment you believed no one would ever hold you accountable." Without another word, I walked past him and out of the courthouse. I hadn't won because I took revenge. I won because I finally stopped sacrificing my own dignity to protect someone who never deserved it.